Why is BTS's Jungkook secretly in Tokyo? Who was the mysterious figure who made him leave without an escort? The facts behind his disappearance were finally revealed and made the army around the world cry. Click, like, comment, and subscribe to voice your feelings towards Jungkook's emotional decision. Asterisk, why did Jungkook go to Tokyo secretly? And why didn't any of HYBE's staff accompany him as usual? Why the army only found out from a blurry photo at the airport? And why Jungkook looks like that? Different? Is it about a secret project, or are there deeper personal reasons? A question that had been bothering millions of fans was finally answered today, and the answer made the world stop for a moment. Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS who is known for his sincere personality and maturity that exceeds his age, again made a surprise that no one was ready to face. Not because of the new album, not because of an international brand photo shoot, but because of something more touching, more human, and more honest than anything he's done in years. That day, the atmosphere of Tokyo's Haneda Airport didn't feel any different than usual. But a small cheer from a Japanese army man, who caught a glimpse of a tall figure in a black hoodie and a large mask, began to spark a spark of rumors that immediately set fire to the timeline. What is it? Jungkook? Asked someone. He himself? Asked the others. But there was no answer. Jungkook walked quickly, looked down, did not carry a large bag as usual, and did not see any security staff from Korea, but a leaked photo from a local taxi driver showed Jungkook sitting in the back seat, holding a small white box with a red ribbon. His eyes look puffy. Her hair is a little disheveled. But the smile, it's too hard to explain. That smile is not a camera smile. The smile was like someone who had just looked at his past and said quietly, "I'm finally back." The question did not stop rolling until a well-known fan site uploaded surprising information. Jungkook was visiting a small nursing home in the Shibuya district. The name of the institution is almost unknown, not fancy, not viral. But after an in-depth search, it became known that the orphanage used to be where an elderly woman lived, who had been Jungkook's first dance teacher as a child. Yes, Jungkook returns to Tokyo for what no one ever imagined. To remember the man who shaped him before the world knew him as the Golden Magne. Her name is Natsumi-san, a former Japanese-Korean dancer who had lived in Busan in 2005 as part of a cultural exchange program. It was he who first touched little Jungkook's back when the boy was frightened dancing in public. He was the first to say, "You don't have to be perfect, just be honest." And apparently, Jungkook's letters to him are still preserved to this day. When ARMY found out that Natsumi-san had just died last week, everything seemed to make sense. The white box Jungkook brought was the cremation ashes of the master. It was requested by the family of the deceased to bring the ashes back to Busan, to the place where Jungkook's first steps began. What makes things even more disturbing is the contents of the letter found with the box. Natsumi-san's last letter to Jungkook, which has never been made public. And this is the content of the quote that was successfully obtained from a reliable source who worked in the institution. "Jeon, if you're reading this, it means I can't dance in this world anymore. But I hope that every step you take, every move you make on stage, remains an honest dance. You were never just a dancer. You are a small lamp in a dim room. If the people around you are trying to mold you into someone you are not, remember our first dance. Never forget who you were before all those highlights came along." Asterisk, and as Jungkook emerged from the facility, with puffy eyes and a small smile on the corner of his lips, the medical staff told him. He didn't say much. He just said, "Thank you for keeping it for me. I'm going home now." Then he looked at Natsumi-san's room once more and left. That day, the world was silent. No noisy fan cam. There were no hysterical screams. Just still photos. And that silence is louder than anything. One of HYBE's staff, who finally confirmed Jungkook's presence in Tokyo, also did not expect that the reason for this departure was so personal. "We didn't come because Jungkook wanted this to be a moment for himself. No camera. There is no brand. There is no collaboration plan. We respect him." But this news did not stop there. Fans began to dig up old archives. One of BTS's old training videos from 2013 shows Jungkook holding a small pendant and clasping it tightly during a hard workout. In an old interview, When asked who first inspired him, Jungkook once replied vaguely, "The one who taught me to be honest on stage. But he's nobody to the world." Tribute videos began to appear. Fans from different countries send virtual flowers to the addresses of the parlors. Some of the fan base even donated on Natsumi-san's behalf for a children's dance program in Busan. And most emotionally, Jungkook ended up posting on Weverse asterisk, "I want to say thank you. And I came back with new strength. I'm sorry if I went quietly. But not all losses must be witnessed by the world." Asterisk, just one sentence, but enough to make a sea of tears filled the comments column. ARMY, who had been used to seeing Jungkook as the perfect figure on stage, now saw him as a whole human being. The one with the wound, who have memories, who had the courage to go back to his past, not to regret, but to thank that Jungkook's presence in Tokyo is not a scandal, not a secret project, not romance gossip, but it's an honor, a personal journey that touches the deepest recesses of who he really is. Now the public is beginning to realize that there is another side of Jungkook that has been hidden, a figure who cares not only about music, but also about the emotional legacy and human values that bind him to childhood. It's no wonder that armies around the world are starting to create the hashtag #ForNatsumi movement as a form of respect for women who never performed on stage, but left the most meaningful mark in Jungkook's life. And you who are reading this, after knowing all the truth, can you look at Jungkook the same way again? If you feel touched, help spread the story. Comment on how you see Jungkook now. Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss out on other behind-the-scenes stories of your idols, because sometimes the most touching stories happen behind the lights, in silence, in a city we never expected, because it's not Tokyo that matters, but the reason behind the departure. And that reason, they made the world cry together. But beneath the tears of armies around the world, deeper, more controversial questions emerge and slowly begin to form a new fog that disrupts public confidence in HYB. Why didn't HYB ever reveal who Natsumi-san was before? Why is it that in all of the official documentation, Jungkook seems to be only shaped by their training system and not by a real human who once touched his heart before they took over? What makes this unease even more pronounced is the fact that Natsumi-san's name is never mentioned once in BTS biography books, official documentaries, or award shows. There is no recognition, no respect. In fact, if it was true that he was the one who first formed the foundation of Jungkook's courage to dance and sing, wouldn't it be natural for his name to be mentioned? Grateful? Respected? What emerges instead is a long silence and narrative that focuses only on HYB's intense training since Jungkook became a trainee at a young age, as if there was no life before that. Ostensibly, Jungkook is a clean product of the company's hands. Now the public is starting to ask, is this intentional? Has HYB been removing non-commercial parts of their artist past? An anonymous post claiming to be a former HYB production staff member went viral. In a screenshot that spread quickly, the person wrote, "We once prepared footage of Jungkook's childhood and included a clip of an interview with his former dance teacher. But the material was removed by the top team because it was said to be irrelevant to the brand's international image." Jungkook looked disappointed at that time, but there's not much he can do. The last sentence hung, gutted and burned the anger of real fans. Has Jungkook been locked up in a narrative that is not entirely his own? Do we see only the shadow that has been fabricated and not the real man? And an even more piercing question begins to creep in. Is this why Jungkook so vehemently maintains control over his solo album, his hair, his clothes, even the tattoos on his body? Is this trip to Tokyo not just another emotional farewell, but also a subtle form of rebellion to the company that too often drives her story? Not a few fans began to associate this visit to Tokyo with rumors that had circulated about tensions between Jungkook and management, especially since he was several times absent from official BTS content without a transparent explanation. And further, is it possible that Jungkook is building a new, more authentic story for himself, despite what has been written for him? The social media timeline immediately caught fire. Some reposted old videos in which Jungkook appeared to be holding back emotions while talking about childhood and dreams. In one of the interviews, When asked if he still dreams of dancing on the streets like he used to, Jungkook replied with a sad smile, "I miss small spaces that don't need to be perfect." Now, after all that was revealed, the statement changed its meaning. The small space turned out to be not just a place, but a moment. Moments with Natsumi-san. A moment that he probably wanted to preserve before everything was wrapped in the glitter of global fame and pressure. And HYB? The company has yet to give an official statement about Jungkook's visit to Tokyo, let alone about his past relationship with Natsumi-san. Even when the name of the deceased went viral and was filled with the hashtag #RespectNatsumi, their official account remained silent. This silence is suspicious. Some of the army started petitioning for Natsumi-san to be given special respect in the upcoming BTS documentary project. But what happened was that fanbase accounts began to be blocked for voicing this issue. Even some tweets that included Jungkook's old documentation with his dance teacher were reported for copyright infringement. This action further heated the situation. Many felt that HYB was trying to erase traces of Jungkook's past that did not fit the corporate narrative they had built so far. And the big question inevitably arises. If Jungkook wanted to personally express his final gratitude, why did the company seem to want to cover up his sincere intentions? Is Jungkook fighting back? In a recent Weverse interview, Jungkook said, "There are moments in life that I wouldn't share on camera, but I know they shaped me far more than any award." After this Tokyo news broke, the sentence was like a small explosion that held a lot of meaning. It's not just about memories, but it's about silent resistance to an industry that keeps trying to control an artist's personal narrative. And now, the public is starting to shine a wider spotlight not just on Jungkook, but on the Korean idol system as a whole. How many stories have been fabricated? How many humans have been turned into brands without room to cry silently like Jungkook did in Shibuya? That night, the Tokyo sky was overcast. But in different countries, from Korea to Brazil, fans began to light digital candles on their accounts. Not just for Natsumi-san, but for Jungkook's freedom, for his right to be human, for his courage to return home, despite having to get rid of cameras, companies, and global expectations. And if HYB still chooses silence, then the army's voice will become louder. Because this time, it's not about a comeback, not about the light stick, but about a boy who returns carrying his teacher's ashes in a small box because only there can he celebrate who he is without a script. If you are reading this and feel there is injustice in Jungkook's silence, give your voice. Tell me this story. Rewrite a more truthful narrative with us, because maybe this is the beginning of the new Jungkook, and the world must be prepared to face the truth that has been hidden. And just after everything is revealed, something even more astonishing emerges. A short 18-second video secretly recorded by a nursing home staffer, which shows the moment when Jungkook sits alone in the living room, holding an old photo that turns out to be a small portrait of himself with Natsumi-san. On the back of the picture, the date and a small handwritten message are written, "To Sensei Natsumi. One day I'll stand on the big stage and say thank you. Wait for me." The video only shows Jungkook staring at the image in silence, before finally a hoarse voice comes from his lips, "Sorry I'm late." Those words hit the hearts of millions of viewers brutally. But in that sadness, another much sharper, more disturbing truth emerges. Why should Jungkook apologize? And to whom exactly is the apology addressed? What about Natsumi-san? Or is it to himself because all this time he was withholding something that he was not allowed to reveal? Shortly after the video went viral on Twitter, a thread from an anonymous account known for divulging the internal conflicts behind the Korean idol industry posted a post that sparked a furor. In a tweet, he claimed that Jungkook had actually tried to ask HYB for permission to visit Natsumi-san long before she died, but her request was denied due to overseas promotion priority agenda. The sentence that netizens highlighted from the thread was, "You've had enough. Fans don't need nostalgia, they need consistent branding." The thread then closed with a sentence full of innuendo. Jungkook is finally in Tokyo too. Unfortunately, too late. It didn't take long for the phrase consistent branding to become the subject of mass outrage. armies from various countries began to openly question the value of humanity in the company that raised BTS. Even a number of former creative staff who had worked on the group's documentation project began to speak implicitly. One of them wrote on Instagram story, "Sometimes you want to put in a meaningful scene, but it's crossed out because it says emotional but not selling. They forget that children are not robots." This anger turned into waves. Fans are demanding transparency from HYB, not just about the case, but about the extent of their control over the artist's emotional expression and personal freedom. And in the heat of these demands, a long, buried rumor re-emerged that Jungkook had once considered not renewing his contract with the agency, and the exact reason was never made public. Some people suspect this is just a coincidence. But who believes more? All this is interconnected. Returning to the moment in Tokyo, a nursing home